Good evening to everybody. Let's turn on the webcam. Can you see me? I hope so. Ciao to everybody from Francesco and welcome. I see that you are still coming, so let's wait just a couple of seconds, but we have so many topics this evening and I'm sure we will have a lot of fun. So welcome to this color management from theory to practice webinar. This webinar is offered you by Calibrite and BenQ with the cooperation of Stavanger Photo that is going also to offer you a wonderful discount at the end of this webinar. So it's worth to wait at the end of the webinar, at least for that. And I think that we can start because again, many of you are already in and we have so many topics to discuss. So a brief introduction of myself and later I will turn off the webcam because I think it's nicer you will focus on the charts instead of my face. So ciao everybody, my name is Francesco Gola. I'm a seascape photographer and I'm based in Italy. You can find me as usual on social media like Instagram, Facebook or wherever you want. And I'm in love with photography and teaching actually because I'm a photographer since 15 years ago. And in the past 10 years, I also started this kind of educational process because I'm really in love in teaching what I've learned during my experience out there in the field with my camera. Not only about photography, but also other, let's say, technical stuff. And for example, the one we are going to talk tonight, so the color management. When I'm not in my studio, I love to travel the world because, again, I'm a seascape photographer, so I'm really in love with landscape photography in general, but I'm really focused to with the sea. And so, well, when I'm not, again, in my office, you will find me maybe along the coast to capture the beauty of this world. I don't want to spend more time on myself, but I want to just leave you my website. Of course, because so you can check my picture. I'm in love with this kind of stuff that are like long exposure of seascapes, but also because in my website, apart from finding my picture and maybe other workshops, you will find a section, a blog section, where I wrote already some articles about the topics that we are going to discuss tonight. So if at the end of this webinar you have a question or you want to go deeper to some topics, you can start from there and then you can maybe send me a message, a mail, and I will be more than in love to continue to talk about this topic with you. So let's start with our webinar about color management. And well, I spent some time in deciding how to do this webinar because we are going to talk about something that sometimes is considered really complicated. In my opinion, actually is not complicated at all, and sometimes we love to overcomplicate this topic because yes, there is a lot of technical things behind what we are going to see tonight. But my idea this evening is to try to well, I will turn off my webcam so you will see better the charts. So the idea of this evening is to share with you my experience, my knowledge about this wonderful topic that is color management, because I think is absolutely important for every photographer or video maker or anybody who is in love with digital things in front of a screen to be aware at least about certain topics. We are going to simplify many of these topics, but well, my mission tonight is at the end of this workshop to give you, let's say, the general overview about this color management topic, and to let you at least understand why it's so important to consider the color management a part of every photographer's workflow. So I want to really start from the beginning and from the expectation we have when we look at our pictures in a screen, for example. So for me, at least, every time I look at one of my pictures in the screen, in my monitor, I want to see this picture with many colors and accurately. So I think this is really the key of the discussion tonight. So to see many colors and to see them in the most accurate way that is possible. And we will split the discussion tonight in these two teams. So how can we see many color in our screen, or if it's easy to do that, and how to see them in a really accurate way, because we are not sure that what we are going to see in a screen is the correct thing or not. So in my opinion, in any case, to be able to see correctly what we have in front of us, it should be a prerequisite. So we really not to have to take it as granted, but we have to keep in mind that this is really something that is absolutely very important. So if we start really from the beginning, we should start about talking about colors. And don't worry, we are not going to discuss again super technical stuff. But if you ever decide to I don't know, to go to Wikipedia or to any other website or to just to Google what color is, you will find probably endless pages of technical stuff like this chart. But somewhere, I'm sure that you will find at the end of the discussion something that will say that at the end, the color is our brain visual perception. So it's something that actually doesn't exist because it's not a property of the matter, but it's something that is generated inside our brain. And I think this is a really a key point, because when we start to think that our world around us is not exactly in color as we think, we start to understand that maybe even representing a color with a monitor or to see a printed image with the right color could be a bit more challenging than expected, because again, is not granted anymore. So let's try at the beginning to find a way how to describe colors, because we said that for us as human beings, we have the possibility to see the world in colors, but of course we have some certain limits. So we can see just an amount of color, not endless color, because again, if we go back to the nerdy what color is chart on Wikipedia, we will see that we can just see a portion of let's go back to check the electromagnetic spectrum, so a tiny portion of it. So how can we represent the amount of colors that we can see? And well, many people try to find a solution to this question, and at the end I'm pretty sure that you already encountered in your photography experience this kind of shape that could be, or this graph, a colored thing, a colored patch on the screen, and we can say that this area is going to represent tonight all the colors that we can see. So it means that if we can see a color is inside this area, if we are not able to see it, it will be outside. At the center of this area, we have what is called CE illuminant, so the white point, let's say, and on the edge of this area, we will have the colors at the highest saturation that is possible to see for our eyes. So don't worry, we are not going to go deep to this topic, but what you have to keep in mind this evening is that this area will represent the colors that we are able to see. So at this point, we need to make a step forward, because we know how many colors we can see, that is this area again. But now the question could be, but how our monitor is able to display correctly colors? And this is another very good question, because again, if we are not able, I mean, again, if the world is in colors only in our brain, how can we have a device like a monitor that is able to reproduce color? So that's another, again, a great question. And at the end, we can say that the colors are represented in our monitor, or in, let's say, in real life, through what are called models. And I'm absolutely sure that you already encountered color models. So basically, a color model is a way to mix a certain amount of colors in order to create other ones. So our monitor is working with what's called the RGB model. So basically, we have some colored light source, blue, green, and red, that mixed together, they are creating all the color that we are able to see in our monitor. And so far, I'm sure it's quite easy and it's quite intuitive. So you're mixing lights and you're creating other colors. But we have a problem. So the model alone is not able to give me the exact color information. So for example, if I'm creating a green with a green light, I'm not able just with the model to say if this green is, like, say, a saturated green, a pale green, a bright green. I just know that it's a green, but I don't know anything else about this green. So in order to create colors in the way we see on a picture, we need something that is called mapping function. That is something that for sure we are not going to check in details, but you have just to understand that when we apply this kind of mapping function to this abstract mathematical representation of colors that is the model, we are going to obtain what is called color space. That I'm sure that is something that at least once in your life you heard or you probably have read in some articles, and it's something that is absolutely essential for us in order to represent colors. Why? Because try to think about your camera. Maybe you are on the field, you are taking picture with your camera, and I absolutely hope that you're capturing your images in RAW, so not as a JPEG, but as a RAW file. Well, I don't know if you already know, but when you capture your images in RAW, actually you're not capturing an image, but you're capturing, let's say, an amount of data that in order to be converted into an image, they need something. So basically the raw file, the file that you have in your SD card or in your hard drive, basically are just, if you open without Photoshop or any other, say, image visualization, they are like just an amount of numbers that are meaningless for us. So in order to transform this raw file into an image, we need to apply the color space. So the color space is something that is able to translate numerical data that are captured by our camera into something that we can visualize. So at the end, the question is, what is a color space? We can think at a color space like the painter's color palette. And basically that is something really important to remember, is basically a human convention. So the color space is something that is designed by humans, so by a company for or by people. I mean, so it's something that is there because it's designed by somebody. And again, it's like a painter's color palette. What does it mean? That if we take our raw image and then we take a painter's color palette, we are able to paint our image into our screen. So according to the different color palette that we are going to use, we are going to obtain a picture that could be slightly different one from the other. And we are going to this very soon. The important thing to keep in mind is that, like a real painter's color palette, more colors we have, more possibility we have in order to transform our raw data into an image. So according to the color palette that I'm going to use, we are probably obtaining different results, because one thing is that I'm painting with just a few colors. Another thing is that I'm a painter like Van Gogh, and I have 100,000 of colors in front of me, and I can paint with all the colors that I want. I'm absolutely sure that words like PhotoPro RGB, Adobe RGB, sRGB are something that are already known. So these for Photo RGB, Adobe RGB, and sRGB are basically color spaces. So according to, let's say, the size of these color spaces, we can paint, again, our raw file into, we can transform in our raw file into an image. When I mean size, I don't mean the physical size of the colors palette, but the amount, how many colors we have in this palette. So, for example, the sRGB is a color space that is quite tiny because we don't have many colors in order to paint our image. On the other side, for example, for ProPhoto RGB is a color space that is designed to be so big that is containing actually even colors that are not even possible to be seen by our eyes. So it's something that, if you remember the colored patch that we saw at the beginning, they will be outside of this colored patch. So they are something that we can't even see. So again, larger is the color palette, more colors we have to describe the data in our raw file. What does it mean? So let's take, for example, this image that I captured in a wonderful sunrise when I was in Menorca Island in Spain. So if we open this picture in Photoshop and we magnify this picture really to the pixel size, we will see something like that. So our image is composed by, in this case, 48 million pixels, so tiny square that have a specific information in terms of color and brightness. And this information of each of these tiny square is contained in the raw file, because again, the raw file basically is an amount of data that is describing in a numerical way all these tiny square into my captured by the sensor of my camera. So now we want to transform this data, this tiny square, into an image. So we apply, again, a color space to our image. And what does it happen when we apply different color spaces to the same image? So again, let's consider this image. Let's consider that this image is created by 48 million of pixels of this tiny square. And let's take, with a specific tool, that's a mathematical representation, but it is really important that you can understand, to let you understand. So if we take each of these tiny colored square and we try to put them inside of our CA diagram, so the area where we can see that contain the color that we can see, you will see that if I apply different color spaces to the same image, I will obtain different results. So for example, with the sRGB colors, I have less colors, and so my representation in this graphic is kind of different of the one on the right side, where you can see, for example, I have more colors represented here. So I'm using more colors in order to create probably more use in the image. So I will get more color details in my image. So the next question, because at this point you can say, okay, no problem. So bigger the palette color is, better it is. So I will apply to my raw file the biggest one I have. So for example, we said that ProPhoto RGB could be the best option. So the problem is that that maybe your monitor is not able to reproduce all this color. Why? Because actually at the end, the monitor is just a physical device. It's something that was created by humans, so by companies. And of course, there are some technical limitations, for example. In fact, let's try again to take our picture. That is, actually, this is a different picture from the one that I showed you before. But in any case, let's take our diagram, let's say that like our colored diagram where we see all the colors that we can see. And let's put every pixel of our image inside this diagram. At this point, if I'm putting also, if I'm showing you how many colors, that's what we call a standard monitor we can reproduce, we will obtain an area like this triangle. So basically, a monitor of a laptop or the office monitor that you probably have is able to represent something like that. And as you can see, we have some of our pixels that are outside of this triangle. And what does it mean? It means that our monitor will not be able to reproduce this color. So, of course, the red color that is maybe the orange color that is outside of the triangle will be represented by our screen, but it will not be represented with the color information that our camera captured. So we are losing information because we are going to approximate with some automatic algorithms, but we are going to approximate these colors and the one that are outside on the other end with something that is probably close to them, but that is not what you capture on the field. So maybe you spend so many euro in a camera and in your photographic gear, you took a plane to go to Menorca Island, you woke up at 4 a.m. and then you took a beautiful sunrise, and you know, if you're a landscape photographer, that is not so easy to get nice sky every morning, and then you go back home and you have a wonderful file. And then what is going to happen? You are going to lose all the color just because your display is not enough to show what your camera just captured. In my opinion, this is something that we should avoid at any cost, because basically we are restricting the potential of our image. So what's the solution to that? There are monitors that are called white gamut monitor. So there are some monitors that are designed with the latest technologies available in order to represent as much color as is technically possible, basically. For example, now I'm using a monitor that is called BenQ SW321C. That is one of these white gamut monitor. If you check again this image, here you can see this new blue triangle that is the representation of how many color this monitor is able to represent. One important thing is that actually the amount of colors that can be represented, that is called gamut, is a tridimensional thing. But here, in order to simplify, we are just representing everything in a bidimensional way. But at the end, it is absolutely the same. The important thing is that is to consider that a white gamut monitor is capable to show you what you really capture with your image. So every monitor has different characteristics. For example, this monitor is capable to cover the 100% of the sRGB space and 99% of Adobe RGB space. Every monitor, I mean, the capability of every monitor is represented comparing his gamut to the gamut of a specific color space, because every color space is specifically designed for something. For example, for us photographers, we are really used to hear about sRGB and Adobe RGB. And in a while, I will tell you why they are so important and why we should focus on white gamut monitor capable to reproduce as much as possible of these two color spaces instead of any other one. But it's really important to say that white gamut is just one of the important characteristic of a monitor. Well, not the important features or characteristics, but the basic feature. Because in my opinion, if you're a photographer or again a video maker, you should consider your monitor as exactly as you consider your camera or your lens. So it's an essential part of your workflow. And again, if you want to get most out of your picture, you really need to be able to see your picture in the best possible way. So white gamut is one of these things. But a big question could be why we should focus on. Sorry, that's my Siri that is activated by mistake. Okay, let's remove it because it's talking by himself. Sorry, guys. So a good question could be why Adobe RGB and not to just focus on sRGB. So again, we have to keep in mind that color spaces are designed. So Adobe RGB, like sRGB actually, but Adobe RGB was designed by Adobe for a specific purpose. And we will see this purpose in a minute, but in the meanwhile, consider this picture. So as you can see here, you will see that Adobe RGB is quite bigger than sRGB. So actually, sRGB, if you want to know, is capable to reproduce only the 35% of the colors that our eyes can see. And this is basically nothing. And this was designed in the 90s when the first color monitor were available on the market in order to define a kind of standard for visualization, for the visualization of the colors. But again, that standard was created in the 90s when the technology was able to deliver let's say, what we call now today basic monitors. So something that is really nothing compared to the technology that we have today. But Adobe RGB was created for something else. Again, we can represent in this, that's why it was so important to introduce it at the beginning of the conversation. So if we check again this colored patch that is representing the color that we can see, we can represent not only what is the gamut of the monitor that we already know that this triangle is considering, we can consider this triangle like the gamut of a standard monitor, but we can also consider we can represent the gamut of anything. For example, a piece of paper, a sheet of paper. So if we try to describe on this chart what is the gamut, so the amount of colors that can be reproduced on some photographic paper, on a standard photographic paper, we will get something that is not anymore on a triangular shape, but is like a patch almost of this size and of this shape. What does it mean? That this specific photographic paper, actually, if you want to know, this is the Hanemuller Photorag Ultra Smooth, I think. Yes, so it's a very common and super nice paper if you want to print your images. Is able to reproduce this amount of colors. So as you can see immediately, the gamut of the paper is bigger than the gamut of the monitor. So if we are going to display an image, or if you want to print an image on this paper, you are going to have an amount of colors that you are not even able to see on the screen. So it's impossible that you're going to print them in a proper way. But if you are going to use a wide gamut monitor, as you can see, almost everything of the gamut of the paper is inside the triangle. So it means that everything that we can see on the screen can be printed on the paper in an easy way because we can see what we are going to print. And it's not by chance that the wide gamut shape is a triangle with this size, because again, it was specifically designed in order to match the world of printing. So to match a printed paper that again is with this shape. That's very important because again, a wide gamut monitor is able to let you see many colors, and not only all the colors that your camera is capable to capture, but it put you in the position to print the image that you see on the screen on a fine art paper, for example, like the one that I told you before, being sure that you will see what you're going to print. So you're going to print in, of course, following all the good rules of printing, but you will be able to print your images without any issue. Again, there are so many other features that we should keep in mind, and I will let's discuss just a few of them. Another really important characteristic of monitor should be the panel technology. In photography, I suggest you to consider the IPS technology, because IPS means in-plane switching. Basically, it's a technology that even if you're not looking at your screen in front of it, but you're moving left to right or with a different viewing angle, the image will be the same, because of course, think that you are maybe post-producing one of your image in a position, and just if you move to the left, your image will look different in colors and in contrast. Of course, it would be a disaster. And also, this technology, the in-plane switching, is able to provide a very wide gamut. So, of course, for us, for photographers, it's really important that this is the technology of our screen. There are other technologies like the twisted nematic or the vertical alignment, but these are for other purposes like gaming, for example. Then the connectivity, in my opinion, is a very important topic, because nowadays a screen should be capable to be connected to your laptop in the most easy possible way. So, for example, my monitor now, again, the SW series, the 321C model, is able to be connected with the USB-C. And this means that the USB-C cable is capable to deliver not just the video signal, I mean the image signal, but also it can supply data and power. So, for example, I can, with just the monitor, I can charge my laptop, and I don't need any external extra cable in order to communicate between the screen and my computer, my laptop, when, for example, I'm calibrating my monitor. Again, the resolution is very important, because that is a very subjective topic, in my opinion. But for me, if you have a panel with an high resolution, let you see your image, let's see, in a better way. I mean, that's a very easy to understand picture, in my opinion. I mean, higher is the pixel density in your screen, probably nicer will be the feeling of viewing your picture there. So, for example, the BenQ SW321C is a UHD panels, and this means that it's a 4K panel and is able to reproduce very sharp images. In my opinion, it's very great, especially if you are going to print them. But again, a 2K monitor is absolutely okay, and maybe it could be your first step into a wide gamut monitor, also because it's a bit cheaper. If you just want to have a comparison, so the picture in proportion, I mean, this picture was taken with a Nikon D850, so it's 8,000 pixels on the long edge. With a monitor like the BenQ that I'm using, the SW321C, I'm able to see in real size a huge portion of the image, and this is really good, especially again if you're going to print your images or if you want to have a super accurate post-production workflow on them. Again, uniformity is another important topic, because uniformity is the ability of the monitor to reproduce a portion of the image in the same way, independently where you are displaying that portion of the image in your screen. So a pixel that is reproduced on the top left on the image, if I drag my picture to the right, it should be reproducing the same way on the right side of the screen. This seems to be a very stupid feature, but believe me, it's absolutely complicated to make uniform panels, and that's why BenQ now is implementing on his monitor like the third generation of uniformity technology. So it's something really, really complicated. But again, it's important when you work on your picture that the colors on your pictures are, I mean, constant independently of the position of the screen where you are reproducing them. At the end, the last important thing, in my opinion, the last feature that I will really keep in mind is what is called the lookup table, 3D lookup table. Basically, there are some monitors that have an additional chip inside where you can store some information. Basically, these kind of monitor are the ones that are capable of the what's so-called hardware calibration. So the hardware calibration that we are going to see in a few minutes is the kind of calibration that let you store some information inside your monitor directly. In this way, we will be able to reproduce our color even more accurately. And I think that's another thing that is, of course, absolutely important. Let's end this discussion about the monitors, saying that, for example, BenQ is creating a different range of monitor according, of course, of our specific need, because as we said at the beginning, there are monitors that are designed, for example, to be more as close as possible to the Adobe RGB color space. So, for example, the SW series. Oh, sorry, I forgot this in Italian. The SW series is the one designed for photography, so is able to to cover the 99% of the Adobe RGB color space. But for example, if you are interested more into the entertainment or in gaming, maybe you need something that is just a bit different in terms of panel and in terms of gamut coverage. So again, up to you, but consider that you have many options, and according to your specific need, really you will find for sure a solution. At this point, okay, let's suppose that we just bought a wonderful monitor. So we bought a nice BenQ SW321C or a 270, so one of the latest generation monitor. But we are living on a desert island, so somewhere, of course, in front of the beautiful sea. And we are working on our images. So we are post-producing our images that we are capturing on the field, and then in the evening, we are post-producing them in front of a nice glass of wine. So, of course, on this island where we are living alone, what we see on our monitor is our reality. I mean, if somebody is coming to the island to check our screen, for sure it can say something about his feeling about the picture, but in terms of personal taste. But there is no chance he can say anything about how the monitor is displaying colors. But what happens if we, let's say we get an internet connection and we are able to send for, I don't know, because we bought Starlink, and we now are able to send by email our picture to, I don't know, to an editor, to a printing website, or just to our parents somewhere in the world. Maybe they will like the picture, but it's more likely that they will be kind of disappointed, or in any case, for sure, they are not going to see the same thing you was seeing on the island. What's the reason about that? Well, if you think that this is quite strange, I'm quite sure that if you try to think, you already experienced maybe to post-produce one of your image on your laptop, and then when you was looking at the same picture on your iPad or on your mobile, it was looking different. And if you didn't, because it's your first time it's your first step in the world of photography, I'm 100% sure that you experienced like the TV wall on a supermarket, when you have these hundreds television in front of you that are displaying the same thing, but somehow they are displaying the same thing in a slightly different way, because the contrast is slightly different, because the colors are different, because the color temperature feeling is different. I'm 100% sure that this is something that happened to you too. So what's the reason of that? I will try to explain with the Mexican restaurant example, also because it's almost dinner time, I think. So let's go to the Mexican restaurant, because the Mexican restaurant is something that I'm I really love, guys. So if you ever meet me on the field, propose me a Mexican restaurant and I will say yes for sure. So let's go to the Mexican restaurant, and I'm 100% sure that you, if you are a lover or not of Mexican food, you are aware of the fact that there is a kind of spicy level of each plate in a scale, for example, from 1 to 4, where 1 is supposed to be the plate not so spicy, to the 4 that is probably impossible to eat. So if I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm a huge fan of the Mexican food, so maybe I will try something that for me is spicy or almost spicy. The problem is that in the kitchen we have Pedro or Juan or any other name that you want, that is a Mexican guy. Maybe we are the same age, but he's coming from Mexico, where he's using to have Mexican food and spicy food as I'm used to pizza, for example. So what is maybe spicy for me is nothing for him. And what is spicy for him is something that is really is impossible to be eaten by me. So what's the meaning of this? It's the fact that the perception of the spiciness is really dependent on the subject and to the convention that we used. So me and Juan, that we are maybe same age, we are human being, we are the same DNA basically, but for us, the same thing, the spiciness, is completely different or is slightly different, but it will never be the same. So again, the perception of the spiciness is subjective. How this can be related to photography and to monitor? Because actually is absolutely the same thing. If we take two monitor, maybe two identical monitor, two BenQ monitor that we just bought, maybe from two different places or even from the same place, and we display on them the same image, the two images will result slightly different. For example, this is just an example to let you understand. We said that we create colors with this colored light, and the amount, the intensity of light, the green light, for example, can vary from 0 to 250. For example, at the level 200 of the intensity of the light, in one device, the green is something. On the other one, it will be something slightly different. Here, of course, that's just for graphical purposes, so I'm showing you something that probably is not real. I mean, the difference will be probably less, but it's just to let you understand that the two devices will display the same thing in a different way. Why? Because the color is, as we say, is device dependent. So according to the device, the color will be represented in a different way. And this is due to hundreds of possible reasons, from the laptop that we are using, because we are using different video cards, because one monitor is older than the other one, because even if they are two identical monitor, one is older, because the material of the two monitor are coming from two different cases. So, I mean, they are physical and real devices, like me and Juan. And so we are different, even we are the same. And so two monitors are going to display the color in a different way. That, of course, is a problem, because we need to find a way to manage colors. So we need to find a way to make the device 1 identical to the device 2, or in any case, to display the same input in the same way in the two monitor. How to do that? We do, again, as we said, managing colors. So to create consistency across our graphic chain. So the green that we capture with our camera should be the green that we display on our main screen, and it should be the same green that somebody else in the world is seeing if we is going to view our picture, or is the same green that we get from a printed image. How to do that? Well, that was really a complicated thing, because a lot of people tried to find a solution. And at the end, the International Color Consortium defined a kind of standard in order to solve this problem. So basically, anybody that is going to follow the rule of the International Color Consortium, that I'm sure that you already hear, ICC, if you are following their standard, you are able to create images that can be seen in the same way as you are seeing them by other people that are following the same rule. How to do that? Through what are called ICC profiles. What is an ICC profile? So basically, an ICC profile is a physical file that is able to translate the specific monitor you have, or the specific devices you have, into something that is understandable by everybody. So this is a really technical and complicated topic, but you have to consider that basically the ICC profile is able to convert basically what is the fact that your monitor is unique and is displaying your colors in a very specific way into is translating this way to display colors into a way that is independent by the device. So through what is called a profile connection space. So this could look very complicated, but is not something that you have really to go deep into. You have just to understand that there is a way to display, to describe colors in a device independent way. So if we are able to describe our colors in this way, we are also able to represent the colors in different display in the same way. You have to consider an ICC profile like a translator. For example, let's suppose that one monitor is speaking one language and another monitor is speaking another language. So basically, we are using a translator to translate the specific language that our monitor is speaking to a common language that is not the language of the other device, but is a language that if everybody is going to learn, it let us to communicate without any problem. So the really important thing is to focus on this ICC profile, because even without going deep into this, we have just to remember that the ICC profile is the thing that let us describe the color in a universal way, let's say. But how can I get the ICC profile? Is it something that I can download from internet? Is something that I should create by hand on my laptop? Of course, no. It's something that we can't download from internet for our monitor especially, but it's something that we have to create, because the ICC profile, again, is the description of the specific behavior of our screen. How to create an ICC profile? The ICC profile is created by measuring our device. So we need to measure the specific behavior of our monitor in reproducing color. There are two ways to create ICC profile. One is through a colorimeter and the other one is through a spectrophotometer. Consider that basically they are creating the ICC in, let's say they are creating an ICC profile, but one is able to create it also measuring reflective surfaces, like for example a printed paper. A colorimeter is able to measure only emitting surfaces. So for example, is the one that we are going to use for a monitor, because it's cheaper and it's super accurate. How it works? Basically, the colorimeter is a physical device that you attach in front of your screen, and through a specific software, you're going to display a certain amount of colors on your screen. The device is basically acquiring the information of the colors that is really displayed, and basically is creating a kind of file where it record every difference that we have from the displayed colors, from the theoretically displayed colors, and the one that is physically displayed. It's like to say, I have a software that is able to transmit a color that is for sure that color is a green 0.0, let's say. I will display, my software will display this green 0.0 color, but we know that our monitor is not perfect, so maybe it will describe green 0.2. And so basically my tiny device is able to record this green 0.2 green color when it's displayed green 0.0. And so it's creating basically a list that keeps tracks of all these errors. So if we save, when we save this file in our computer, so the ICC file that is created is saved in our computer, every time we are going to display an image with a specific, with all the colors that we have, this file will basically introduce in your image, let's say in your image, but is going to introduce an error in the display of your monitor in order to represent the color in the proper way. So that's how ICC profile works. There are many devices that you can consider for calibrating and profiling your monitor. I'm right now using the one of Calibrite that you probably are familiar because they are coming from the X-ray technology. And actually, according to your specific need, you can have you can buy different products. Again, there is a first need separation between what is a colorimeter and a spectrophotometer. Basically, a spectrophotometer is able to create the ICC profile on a printer. So if you want to do on a printer, I suggest you to consider the Color Check Studio. In terms of colorimeter, so just to calibrate your screen, well, it's up to you. My suggestion probably will be to start maybe from a Color Checker Display Pro, because this device is able to do what is called, as we said, hardware calibration. So if you are using this tool with a BenQ monitor, for example, you will be able to take advantage of the fact that some of the information of this calibration and profilation process can be stored directly inside of your screen. And so the representation of the image will be even more accurate. If you later have questions on this, we can even discuss deeper on this topic. As we said, the physical device that we attach in front of our screen should be paired with a software. If you are using, I don't know, any monitor, maybe your laptop or even your office monitor, you can use directly the software provided by Calibrite that is called CC Profiler, that is able to, again, create this ICC profile. If you're using a BenQ monitor, you can, again, take advantage of the fact that you can store some information inside of the screen directly. And so I suggest you to use the BenQ Palette Master Element software. That is a software that it can be downloaded for free from BenQ website. And again, you can profile and calibrate your monitor in an absolutely easy way. It's not the moment we can't go deeper into the process of the calibration and profilation, but again, if you go to my website, there is really a step-by-step tutorial on how to profile and calibrate your monitor. But there is an article, a tutorial for BenQ PME, and a tutorial for CC Profiler. So you will find the detailed information. So at the end, if we are at the Mexican restaurant, how can we order the right dish? So it's quite easy because, again, we should do as we will do for our monitor. So basically, I will go to the restaurant and I will order all of the 4 intensity of spiciness, and I will note down what they represent for me, how they are spicy for me. So basically I'm making a characterization. So it's like we said to take a calibrator, a colorimeter, and to attach it to a display and to start to display different colors in order to read what this color is exactly for this monitor. So I'm going to check for me what is this this level of spiciness. And so I create a list that could be our ICC profile that I will give to the waiter. Then the waiter is able to go to the kitchen, to the chef, in order to order my food as spicy as I want, but translating the spiciness information to the chef. So basically, after a kind of standardization that I give to the waiter, that is our ICC profile, is able to translate to the chef, so to the video card of our laptop, for example, how to display the right color, the color that I really want. In this case, the Mexican dish with the spiciness that I really want. Or in other words, we are able to really to display the same picture in 2 completely different display. Because, for example, this is a comparison between my laptop, that is a MacBook, and a BenQ SW321C monitor. So another technology, another level of quality, but they are displaying the exact same things, and this is thanks to the ICC profile that I created with my Calibrite device. Perfect. I think that we need to start the Q&A session because we are at the end. So I really thank you very much, and I hope that you found this this webinar interesting. So let's check if we have some question from you. And please, these are my contacts. You can find me again on Instagram, Facebook. You can send me a mail, or you can contact me through the website. So if at the end of the time we have left, you have still question, you can write to me. So let's check. In the meanwhile, I will turn on the webcam again. So hello again. Oh my God, I needed some water. So Hubert, why is okay, wait, because is scrolling down. Okay, why is this 90% of Adobe RGB? There is so much outside this monitor that not cover. So yes, okay. Adobe RGB is the standard that now we are using because is the way we can translate what we see on a screen on a printed paper. And even if we can see more things, and maybe we can have screens that nowadays are even more capable to reproduce even more colors. Again, a cotton fine art paper like the Honeymoon that I'm using has a defined gamut. So we need to use Adobe the Adobe RGB because is the best match we can have with a printed paper. Then can one calibrate with the USB-C cable? It will not affect the quality. Absolutely yes. You can calibrate with the USB-C cable. Actually, I'm doing it. Is not affecting absolutely the quality. Actually, is even solving some issue, because if we are not using the USB-C connection between the monitor and your laptop, for example, you have to use an additional USB cable in order to transfer the data, because the display port cable or the HDMI cable is able only to deliver the video signal, so the visual information, and we need something to feed the laptop and the monitor with data. With the USB, we have everything in one single cable, so it's absolutely reliable, and you can get absolutely great result. Okay, if I develop my images in ProPhoto, that we said that is the color palette, the big, huge one, should I be printing in Adobe RGB to get the best result? The short answer is yes. Every time, so that's something that you probably don't know, every time you open your raw file into Camera Raw, that is on Photoshop or in Lightroom, again, to transform this raw, this amount of data into something that we can see, we have to apply a color profile. By default, Camera Raw is applying to this raw something that is kind of close to ProPhoto RGB, so it's using something big to translate your colors, and that could be nice until you just want to see the colors on your screen. But the moment that you want to translate this amount of color into something that can be reproduced by a sheet of paper, you have to consider the gamut of this paper, and the ProPhoto color profile is too wide because there are more colors than the one that can be reproduced by our paper. So we need to make a sort of conversion of this ProPhoto RGB into a Adobe RGB color space in order to transform the information that we are available into something that is smaller. So we are using a bit less of color, but this color are the maximum amount of color that can be reproduced into our fine art print. So it's absolutely important to do. If you don't do, what happened? That you are describing the picture with a lot of color, you're going to print this huge amount of color into the paper. The paper is not able to reproduce all this color, and basically you are going to lose some shades of color. So you're losing colors. You're not managing color because you're going to miss some maybe shades of colors and saturation. So it's definitely not suggested. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Okay, how much? Okay, for a photographer is suggested SW or a PD monitor from BenQ. Caterina. So Caterina, it really depends on you, because both of them they have all the good. They have this kind of basic features that are, in my opinion, absolutely mandatory for a photographer, from uniformity, resolution, and whatever. The SW is a series that is able to reproduce up to the 99% of color space. The PD is designed to something else, is going to match is for a designer world, so is more focused on other characteristic. Is not able to reach the 99% of Adobe RGB. So if you are not super interested into the printing world, let's say, a PD series could be enough. If you think that one day, or you're already involved into the wonderful world of printing, I think that the SW is a really great investment, also because the price tag is quite low for this kind of professional tool, so it's really suggested, in my opinion. Do you need to match the color profile taken by the camera when shooting in RAW to the software used? Actually, yeah, if I get the question, in your camera, usually you are able to set the color profile Adobe RGB or sRGB. But remember that this setting is absolutely useless. This setting is only if you're going to save your image in the camera in JPEG mode, because basically what you're going to do in the software, in Lightroom, is done by the computer, by the camera itself before. If we are shooting in RAW, is absolutely nonsense to apply any of this setting because it's not applied to the file. Again, the raw file is just an amount of data. It becomes a picture only when we open it in camera raw, for example, and it's becoming a picture because camera raw is assigning to this amount of data the color profile that is almost Profoto RGB. So it's describing the amount of data with a specific palette of colors. So it's absolutely useless to set in your camera any specific color space. Okay, let's check if there is a last question, and then I think we are really at the end. Let's see if I missed something. Okay, there is a question about Palette Master that there are a few versions that are not working properly in Windows. Well, I suggest you maybe send me, Masha, send me a mail because I will try to help you. Usually the latest version of Palette Master Element, because it's a software that is updated constantly, is able to fix all the previous issue. But if you have any limitation in selecting the 16-bit lookup table, maybe you need to try to use an older version if you was working with that version and it was working before. So hard to say like that, but we can go deep on this. Let's see if I have something left. I think no, I think everything is answered. So, okay, I think we are at the end. So thanks again. So I would like to thanks again BenQ, Calibrite, for offering us this wonderful webinar, and also the Norwegian reseller Stavanger, because it's going to give you this discount code if you want to buy a monitor or something related to the calibration world, so some Calibrite product, and in the chat you will be able to find the discount code to be used on their store. So again, Stavanger Photo is the place to go after the end of this webinar. Okay, so no more question, and so it's time to say you goodbye. It was really a pleasure to be with you tonight, and so I really hope that it was something interesting. Again, if you have any additional question or if you want to go deeper on these topics, feel free to write me, and I will be more than happy to help you to enjoy even more the color management world. So thanks again, and have a wonderful evening. Ciao.